The man stared at the hide for a long time, then gently stroked it with his hand. He plucked a strand of hair from a crevice, examined it closely, and instantly knew the answer. This must be pigskin, but the king said it wasn't. Next came a priest, who walked up solemnly, pulled out a magnifying glass, and studied the hide with a professional air. The princess grew nervous, because whoever correctly guessed the animal's hide would marry her. The priest completed his analysis. This is the skin of the god of the forest. The princess quickly looked at her father, but the answer was still wrong. She let out a sigh of relief. One by one, the remaining contestants examined the hide, yet none could determine the animal it came from. Just then, a strange-looking wild man, standing 2 meters tall, stepped forward. The sight of him made the princess back away in fear. Having lived in the forest for years, he was familiar with all creatures, and possessed an extraordinary sense of smell. With just a single sniff, he revealed the answer. It was flea skin. The king was stunned. How could anyone have seen such a massive flea? His face grew stiff. Now, the king had put the princess in a terrible predicament. She couldn't accept such a husband. In desperation, she ran to the rooftop of the palace, but after much persuasion from the king, the princess, in order to uphold the kingdom's honor, had no choice but to descend the stairs, reluctantly allowing the wild man to take her away. The wild man led the princess up rugged cliffs. The height made her legs go weak. Seeing this, he hoisted her onto his shoulder and carried her back to his cave. Inside, the cave was filled with remains of unknown creatures. The princess curled up in a corner. Distressed, the wild man approached, grabbed her wrist, and forcibly dragged her into the inner chamber. The princess never imagined she would become the plaything of a wild beast. Living atop a sheer cliff, there was no escape. She could not endure another day under the wild man's control. Just then, she heard a noise outside. Climbing up to look beyond the cliff, she saw a woman on the opposite side. Hope ignited in the princess's heart. She frantically told the woman about her plight, begging for rescue, but a deep chasm separated them, and the woman, despite wanting to help, was powerless. By chance, however, the woman's family belonged to a circus. The next day, they returned to the cliffside. Her son walked across a tightrope, carrying the princess on his back. But just then, the wild man caught the scent of strangers and rushed toward them. As he began climbing over, the young man, quick-witted and sharp, cut the rope in time. The wild man plummeted into the abyss. The princess, overjoyed, embraced her rescuers. They prepared to drive her back to the palace. Just as they celebrated their victory, the wild man reappeared.